Hello and welcome to the My School Adventure podcast. Today I'm chatting with Michelle Goldfinch from Sensory Treasures. She's a creator and retailer of sensory products for children, teens and adults with autism and other sensory issues. Now, Michelle is more than just a creator and retailer. She also works as a primary school education support officer and is mum of two kids with sensory issues, which has given her a unique insight and impetus into making products like these fun to use and attractive to kids, and also more easily available and affordable for families. So welcome to the show, Michelle. Thank you very much for coming along to talk with me today.
Thank you very much, Melanie, for having me. It's a bit exciting. It's my first interview, so I'm excited and a little nervous.
It's exciting for me too. I'm really pleased to have you. So we might just start with a quick introduction. Just tell us a little bit about yourself, Michelle, and your journey that's brought you to creating your business, Sensory Treasures.
Okay, well, Sensory Treasures is about finding the right product for each person. So there is a varied range of products that I have. So it's not always one product that fits all. Um, my ideal is to learn a bit about the client, and then I can suggest what I think fits that child or that person or that instant as such. Um, Sensory Treasures was originally started up by a friend of myself. We did craft afternoons, well, craft nights it was, and we both worked in a school, both as education support officers, and our big thing was helping out the kids in the school, really. So it started up as a hobby, really, and we had my background is having a son with autism, and I also he's now 25, and I also have a son with an auditory processing disorder who's now 23. So I was finding that if I needed toys or things to work with for those my kids and for others, they were just so expensive, and like it was just at the time I wasn't working. I was volunteering only at school, so I didn't have for that sort of stuff. And so they're just out of my price range. So Fran, my friend, and I started making things for our school. Others heard about it and said, "Oh, do you think you could make this?" Or "I've seen this. Do you think you could try this?" So it just started to like snowball. Really, we'd start getting orders and orders. And then about 3 years ago, I think, Fran decided she wanted to concentrate on being a gran because she has two grandchildren. And so I thought, well, this hobby side business, I could go bigger. So I work at All Saints Catholic Primary School in Seaford. It's in South Australia because there's a Seaford in Victoria too, I think. I've been there working for 5 years, but I've actually been involved with the school for over 20 years as a volunteer, because my children went to this school. And I've just worked with so many different kids with so many varying needs. And I just love working with a teacher and the parents, finding what's right for that child. That's my big thing about this.
And can you explain briefly about having autism, like how it affects a child's learning in the classroom?
Now, this is a big one. Autism is a spectrum. So it's a bit like a sliding scale. I suppose that's a good way to describe it. So when someone says, your child has autism, my friend's daughter has that, well, it's a bit like saying all girls have long hair. It's not the same. So no two autistic children are the same, but that's the same as no two children. They're all different. Every child we see is different. And I think a lot of people don't realise that. They see autistic and it's like, oh, they're all going to do that. They're all going to do that. And they're not. They are all so different. So autism can affect children in the classroom in a variety of ways. Now, some of these are only some of the ways, and you might be thinking, but my child doesn't do that. Well, that's why I'd like to say up front, these are only some of the ways. So children with autism, they may have a language delay. They may have no language whatsoever. But then you have others that their speech is incredible. And my Joshua, who's now 25, everyone has always, as he's grown up, has always been, oh, he's from America, is he? So he watches a lot of American shows, the movies and the cartoons. So he's picked up that accent, and because they're such great, some of them are such great mimics, that's what happens. And quite a few people will say, oh yeah, my child has that too. So socially, children with autism struggle to interact with others in a socially appropriate manner. This can cause children to push, can cause them to bite or to fight, as this is the only way they really know how to get into a conversation, or that they don't know the socially, like, oh, hello, how are you? Can I come and play with you? It's just, I'm going to play here. I've always used the analogy that their brains work very differently to ours. Their attention span is usually shorter, and they can often have anxiety issues in class. So changes can be an issue. Autistic children have issues with reading facial expressions. So this makes it very hard for them to understand what people are saying and doing. In what I've learnt, our world is very sarcastic. A lot of the world we live in, I don't think we realise it, but we speak in a sarcastic way to people. We make jokes about things. And my son especially really struggles with that. We have to be very over the top with the way we do, like, see, I'm smiling, I'm joking, sort of thing. Because you can say something completely as a joke, or just say something normal, and it's a very literal taking of that, what's said. So yeah, they're very literal. So things like, if I said, when he was younger especially, hold your horses, he would be looking, Joshua was looking for the horses. You know, pull up your socks. So yep, let's pull the socks up. There's a wonderful autistic artist called Tim Sharp, and he does the Laserbeak Man series. Oh. If you get to have a look at it, Melanie.
Yeah.
He's the art he does, and he draws metaphors and similes. So he's got one about Australia and its sweeping plains, and there's all these plains in front of the Uluru, and someone's not standing, Laserbeak Man standing on top of one sweeping it. Yeah. So it's just beautiful, you know, when you see that, the way he takes it. So the most important thing is autistic people really struggle with focus, attention, transitions and organisation, memory, time management, emotional control, and prioritising things. So in a learning environment, that can cause lots of problems. And you'll find a lot of autistic children are given cards on their desks with, this is what we're doing first, this is what we're doing second, this is what we're doing third. If you do those three things, we get a stamp. This is what we do next, that sort of thing. So they can go and tick off what they're doing. We used to have a special little tag on Joshua's bag saying what had to be in that bag every night when he came home from school. So he'd duk, 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 yep, that's fine. I can now put my bag on my back and walk out the door, sort of thing. So just lists. Lists is a good thing. Organisational skills. In a learning environment, as I said, it causes problems, and they also struggle with seeing big picture. So they get very lost in the details. So if we're drawing, if I said draw a forest of trees, most kids would do like this. Yep, yep, there's a tree, there's a tree. An autistic child will usually draw one tree and it'll have perfect branches and it'll have, a bird in that tree and something else in that. And I'll say, where's the forest? Well, I'm getting to it. Okay. So they're yes, the little details, every detail orientated. And yeah, so that's sort of what it can, some children can go through life, they seem to have no problems. In school, like I work with a couple at present, and people will say, oh, they're autistic. And I'll say, yeah, I know, but they don't show it. There's no problems, but they still struggle, but they do it quietly. They're the ones that will hold it in at school all day and they're terrific. And we think, oh, what a beautiful child, great. And they go home and have a meltdown and poor mum wonders what's hit her because they've been so good all day at school.
That's not the easiest way to...
No, because, as a school, like we'll say that child's beautiful and mum says, oh, when they get home, and it's like, are you sure, mum? Like, are you sure you're telling me the truth? Yeah, so that can be very hard for parents because, all they ever hear, and we got that, like Joshua was quite great at school, he did this, he did that. Yeah, he had a few problems and that, but he was a lot better. And my youngest son was like that. He was, he's so great, he's so quiet, he's so empathetic, terrific, but he's not getting any of his work done because he doesn't understand it. But because he's not causing any problems in school, he wasn't getting any support, which is sad in this day and age, but that's what our education system has come to. It's the kids that make the most noise that get the most help, sadly.
Yes. So just coming back to sensory treasures.
Yes.
What is it about having a sensory issue that, because part of your business is to make things easier for kids in the classroom,
Yep.
and that which helps them all the way across, not just at
Yep.
school, at home. So what is it about having a sensory issue that needs to be settled or given vent to? They're not just being naughty, kids. Why is it
No.
useful for them to have something that's weighted on top of them or something to grip or to fiddle with? And what does it do for them biologically, I suppose? And what does it do for their individual learning, having something that satisfies their sensory needs, and as an individual and as for the classroom as a whole?
Well, weighted products provide deep pressure input, and this calms the sensory issues. So we have 5 senses. Most people think we have 5. Sorry, most people think we have 5. We have 7 actually. Sight, smell, taste, hearing, touch. Vestibular, which is balance and spatial awareness. And this is a big one. Proprioception. I have to say, and that's our motor control and our posture and where our body sits, sort of thing. That's the one that the weighted products help. So weighted products are great for our proprioception sense. They will help a child who is overwhelmed by helping to regulate their arousal levels. Most of us have some sort of sensory issues. You might chew your nails or chew the top of your pens. Others might like I know jackets that are nice and soft or rugs that are nice and soft. I just love something like that. So I see that as just that's a normal part of my day. I love them. It doesn't get over the top for me. I don't have to have that sort of thing. Whereas these that people with sensory issues, it becomes so overwhelming that they have to have something to stop the urge to jump, the urge to curl up in the corner and rock, sort of thing, that sort of stuff. And if there is no intervention, sometimes it can cause meltdowns. And meltdowns aren't tantrums. Meltdowns are there is so much sensory overload that a child just cannot cope anymore. And you can't, when people say, oh, you've got to speak to a child, it's not even worth speaking to a child in a meltdown. They will not listen. They have gone, what does someone say at school? Like, brains like that, and they've flipped their lid. And there is no getting that lid back down until they're in that position. So that's when we try to actually get before they flip it and before they go into that meltdown. If you can read the signs, get a weighted product in, or get a fidget toy in, or get something like this, or just get their mind. Something as simple as a squeeze ball in a child's hand, this can take their mind off of it. The children at our school, we use little cards in some of them, and they have a scale of 1 to 5, 1 being they're fine to work, 3 being they're starting to get towards a little angry, number 5 is I've flipped my lid. So if they're at a 3 or a 4 level, on the back of their card, there's got 3 or 4 things that they can do for 5 minutes. So it might be take a walk around the oval, go and swing on the swing, go and play in the quicksand, kinetic sand or something like that. So, they might even, and some of them will come up and say, oh, I'm at a 4. Right, what do you need to go and do? So we've been teaching our children to self-regulate.
Yeah, right.
As a teacher, we still keep an eye on it, and as an educate support officer, we still keep an eye on it. But a lot of the older kids especially are self-regulating now, and that just makes things so much easier. So we have some that will just go for a walk on the oval. So it doesn't necessarily have to be a fidget or weighted, as I said. Walk outside, swinging is great, especially for autistic children, and that brings them back from the edge. So while a lot of people see fidgets as just a calming tool, my belief is that they're also a learning tool, because children are learning that can help me calm down, that can learn, and by calming down, they can then go back to their work, even with the fidget in their hand. If it's a small enough fidget, they can sit there and do their work with that fidget in their hand, and because they're not jumping all over the classroom, the rest of the class can then settle down and they can work too. Most of our classes are really good. If a child's, we'll have them ignoring them. We've got to that state in the higher classes, or the child will run off and it's like, oh, they've gone again. They're having their break time. So that's been something that has taken a while in the school I'm in, and I would love to see that in all schools. I think that's great. But if a child can stay in a good learning place because of their sensory needs, the weighted product or fidget they use gets them to a place where they are capable to learn. This is something that teachers and support workers learn over time. Is this child using this as a let's get me out of here, or are they really needing it? So we have some kids that say, oh, I need to have that, I need to have that. It's like, no, you don't, you want it. There's a difference. But yeah, so most of the times, once they're back at that calm place, that helps calm the whole room. Yeah, so that's what works.
So it kind of helps to deprioritize the mounting tension, so they can put it aside and are able to concentrate on the lesson at hand. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly right.
Okay. So, did you bring along your toys, a few of them? Because
I've got some. I really wish I don't have any of my weighted blankets, because I more make them, as you were saying, bespoke to order. But what I do is I make, it's about pillowcase size for the lap bags, and I usually choose a colour that the child wants, or I'm about to make a Minecraft one. for a little boy in a class. Um, so most of them are 1 to 2 kilos for just the lap bags, and they can be used on a lap or around the shoulders. So when they're sitting on the floor in class, when they're sitting on um, at their tables, sometimes they'll take them home, and while they're sitting in front of TV, just to help sort of balance them out, I suppose. Um, and they're great, really great in the classrooms. I've just started making weighted toys too, and I was talking to a teacher today actually, and I'd got a unicorn, and I filled it with 2 kilos of weight. And there's a little girl. She said, "Oh, she loves her unicorn. She just loves it." I said, "Well," and this little girl is tiny, and I'm thinking 2 kilos. She won't be able to move under it. So she won't be able to get up when and she's a very flighty child. So yeah, it seems to be working for her. The weighted blankets and quilts, they can be, I've made up to single bed size, and I can go bigger. Now, what I do with those is they're filled with poly pellets, the same as the lap bags, and the weight is 10% of the child's body weight plus 500 grams. So I made one so if I was making one for a 30-kilo child, it'd be 3.5 kilo. And what I usually do is I try to make the weight of it go down where the body would be more so, and then leave the sides just quilted as such. That way it's sort of more on their body through the night. And some adults actually like things like this for restless leg syndrome and stuff like that. I have fibromyalgia myself. And when I get time, this is my big thing. I'm making myself one for my legs at night. I'm just making everyone else's at present. And so I try to use a sensory-like material on both of them. So maybe a flannelette is my favourite. And then I line the insides of them with cotton or bamboo batting also. So it's a bit warm too. So yeah, they're fun to make. They're hard to make because you're holding all that weight when you're trying to sew them. But yes, they look good, and the ones in the classrooms are just used so often, so often.
And what about your hide and hug bags and tunnels? They look really fun. And what do
So
they?
they're made out of lycra, and the hide and hug tunnel is 2 meters long, and it's round. So it's probably or it depends on the size of the child, but so it's round enough that the child can get through it with not too much, like it's not too tight. I like to say to people, make sure there's an adult with the child or another child when you're doing it, because they have to sort of get through the tunnel like a snake. And while they're doing that, the lycra is giving them pressure, so it's great for their proprioception. Yeah, that the input is great. The kids love it. And the bags are also made of lycra, and they're like a square bag, and they've got an opening that the children step into. And some people, I've seen them made before where they actually Velcro or zip that. I leave it open because there are some children that get into it and get quite, oh, I can't see out, I can't see out. So at least with that, for my peace of mind too, the children can see out if they need to. A lot of them will go into it backwards, so it's just their bottoms sticking out of the end thing. And they love it. They'll put their arms up and they make they'll make, star patterns, and then they'll curl up into them. And the same thing, the lycra is pushing and pulling off of them. So it's really, they are great. They are a terrific thing to have in the classroom, just to pull out, and great if a child is just needing, sometimes they need they won't sit with a blanket on their lap, but this will give them the same sort of thing by going through this tunnel. So if they're, yeah, I'm just thinking one of the boys I made one for a couple of years ago, and he loved it. He would be a snake the whole time, and he would actually jump around the room in it with it over his head. And that was the first thing he would go for. And it's, you just think, wow, it's so funny, the different things that you think a child will go for, and then no, that's not what they'll go for. No, he loved that. So yeah, so they're really great.
Yeah, everyone's individual. How long would they stay in one of those for? Like maybe 5 minutes or
Yeah, 5 to 10 minutes, we say is really a good thing. They can keep the lap bags and that on a bit longer, but not too long. And you have to be careful if a child has low muscle tone, which a lot of children with autism do. They have low muscle tone. You've got to be very careful of the ones you put around their shoulders, because it can affect their posture. Because children with low muscle tone have issues in their stomach area, especially. So they just their muscles in their stomach aren't as strong as elsewhere. So they have to have extra physio and things like that when they're younger. And yeah, so that's just something to keep an eye on. But yeah, about 10 minutes, and then say, right, you've had your 10 minutes, 5 to 10 minutes. Always what I found with autistic children especially, but any children that are doing something like this and you're working with them, you need a timer, and they need to know that they've got 5 minutes walk, 5 minutes playing, 10 minutes this. Once that goes, you need to come back and do some work. And if you don't, you're not going to get that again today. You'll miss out. So, yeah, they have to know that there's a give and take sort of thing.
All right. Well, you've created some really great toys you were telling me about earlier. So, can you tell us about the phonics phones? Oh, you brought one. Excellent.
I brought a phonics phone. So now this phonics phone is something that my girlfriend saw online, and she'd seen a few different ones, and she said, "Oh, I reckon that'd be great." Now, phonics, they were one of the.
Yeah, because we're on
Sorry.
audio. Describe it for me in words as well, because we're on audio.
Yeah, I will. So they were one of the first things we started to make. Children at the school who work with children with reading and spelling difficulties wanted to set up, and they were going to cost her $25 each. So she approached us, we made them out of plumbing supplies. So it's like 2 elbows, one on each end, and in the middle is about 20 centimetres of plumbing pipe. And then we decorated the middle with contacts, and they are terrific. So you put it up to your ear, you speak into one end, and the other end amplifies what you're saying. So it's funny, children everywhere want to use them, even children that don't have a problem with spelling and that. So they've been a very popular item in the school that we're in. They use them for their spelling words. They'll use them for if they're writing stories, if they can't hear the end sounds and that sort of thing. So yeah, it just amplifies everything. They might be reading and they'll read the words out loud, and they happen to be able to hear all the sounds then. So we sell them individually, and we sell them in 6-packs for classrooms. Usually the beginning of the year we get a massive order, so people will go, I want 2 6-packs, I want this for the classrooms. And I noticed the other day, one of the teachers that had bought them when we first started making them, she was teaching receptions then. She's now teaching year 3s, and her children in her year 3 class still use them. So usually we say, receptions year 1s maybe, but yep, this is up into year 3s, and they're still, as soon as they start, they race to get them. So they've been a really popular one.
And why is amplifying helpful to kids? Why is
Because the amplifying, when it's up to their ear, they hear it louder. So they're hearing it right into their ear. Whereas if they say it to themselves, it doesn't seem, I don't know why, but it doesn't seem that they hear it properly. So once they've put it up to their ear and they talk into it, when it comes straight into their ear, it's like they've heard, oh, I didn't know that was that sound. So they hear it right into their ear, right, I suppose, right into their ear canal. And yeah, they say, oh, I know what that sound is now, Mrs. Goldfinch. And it's like, well, that's great. You write that down. So yeah, that's why the amplification is great. But yes, they're quite a popular, even now, 3 or 4 years later, still a very popular item.
Okay. And the amazing fidget toy. Did you make that one as well? Because that looks really fun. And
I'd seen some around. I haven't got one on me, but I have seen some around, and so we played around with it a bit. We make it out of polar fleece or flannelette because that's got a really nice feel to it. And then the child, it's usually, there's two different sizes. They're rectangular, so about an A5 size and about an A4. And then they have different mazes in them, and the maze has to be big enough that a marble can get through. So I think the bigger ones or the little, sometimes it depends. I've been changing it up every now and then. We make one of them a bit more difficult, depending on what age. If someone says it's for an older child, I'll make it a bit more difficult. If it's for younger children, we make it a little bit easier for them. It might just be lines up and down, you know, and then they've got to, the marbles inside can't come out, and it just they move their fingers, which is great for their fine motor skills. And they'll move the marble up the sewn line and then across the top and down the sewn line, and just using their fingers, which is great for their fine motor skills, and it's great for their thinking too, that they have to move the marble that way to get it through that way. Yeah, and so they love doing it. It's not a fidget to use when they need to be working also. It's something that if they need to calm down a little bit, you give them that. You've got 5 minutes to play on that. Once that's done, it's a very quiet fidget. So it's not going to upset the rest of the class, because sometimes that is a problem. Like, people have a fidget of some sort, but it might be a metal spinner or something, and it spins and makes a noise. And like, yes, it's great for that child, but the rest of the class is having to listen to that. So yeah, I always try and have both. I make sure I've got some quiet fidgets and fidgets that aren't so quiet, sort of thing.
what other quiet fidgets do you have that you can tell us
Well,
about?
at present, hand putty is a really great one. So putty's great. And the hand putty I have at present is very, it just comes in a tin, this one, and it's very hard to get out. This one's an orange one, but it's like a theraputty.
Sorry, my dog's got slime all through the house.
Yeah, so this isn't like slime. It's not greasy.
Okay.
It's not greasy, which is why it's such a popular one. It's great, and the kids can give a piece to each person and that sort of thing, and then they can just bring it back, and there's nothing on their hands. They don't have to go and wipe their hands or wash their hands. Someone did tell me the other day, don't get it anywhere near a watch though, because someone got it on their watch and it didn't come off. And I went, noted, I'll make that. I need to know these things to tell people. So I have those, and there's the chew toys. Some of the chew toys I have are quiet. And then I have things like
would you like to
chew
tell us
the
the
chew.
Well,
Well,
or Lego looking. Oh, here we are. You can see it on YouTube if you're on here. Tell us about them as well.
Yeah, this is a pencil topper. that looks like, now I don't know if I'm allowed to say this, but a Lego block. It's not Lego, but it looks like one of those. Now, I've also got a necklace with something like this on it. So for those children, some of the cherubs that we work with feel the need to bite. It's not, they don't do it to inflict pain. It's more that they want the pressure, or they like the taste of something in their mouth. Like, I know that I like chewing the top of my pencil. I used to do it. I don't do it as much, but as a kid, I did it all the time. Chewed my nails all the time. So something like this is great. Um, we have a little girl at the school I work with that's a biter, and we've got necklaces. I carry sensory necklaces that are made out of silicone. I have a cat, I have a dinosaur, then I have just teardrops and that sort of thing. And they're actually on a magnetic, so if it gets caught, the clasp will come undone, so the child won't hurt themselves. But these are new, and I absolutely love these ones for the top of pencils, and I can get them in the necklace too, so that's been really good.
I can imagine they'd be really popular, being Lego looking.
Yes, well, that's what I'm thinking. What else are we? Oh, another one I was going to show you was the finger brick cube.
Yes, yeah. And how does that work?
This is so much fun. So it's 2, 4, 6, 8. It's 8 individual cubes, and when you put it together, it gives you instructions. So you get it all the pieces all apart. So I think I looked at it, thought there's about 30 pieces here. How am I going to put this together? So when you put it together properly, so I can fold it like that, then fold it in that way. And then I can open it again the other way, and then open it that way, and then it goes over this way and folds over, and then I can open it. So it's sort of folds in on top of itself and then goes inside out, and it's just like, it's a really useless piece, but it's great fun to play with.
Yeah.
And it's very quiet.
Yes.
Yeah, boys and girls will like it. It's something that is a little bit different, and I just really like it myself. I've found that I've been using it a lot while I sit at the computer. So yeah, that's been really, really good. And it's something new. And I'm always looking for new and different things. One of the other little things, I don't know if do you see those?
Catalogue, yeah. Do you make those
Yeah.
as well?
No, I don't make these. I bought these in. I've got a friend that makes these ones, and she's shown me how to do it. And I just said to her, oh my gosh, they're so hard to make. But that's something, and why I get something little that we're now getting older kids that don't really like to be seen as different. So they need their fidgets to be pocket size, so they can put it in their pocket and use them. So these are small, they're unobtrusive fidgets, they're great for the older kids. They can be put in a pit pocket, no one has to know you have them. The small bike chain one is got bike chains around it, and in the middle are little silicone rounds, and you can just rub it round and round and round in your hand.
Just what you do with it. You can just give us a fiddle. Oh no, go a bit back. We can't see you. Oh, so you just rub it between your fingers.
Yeah, that's how you do it, sort of thing. Or let me see if I can you can put it on your hand and it can spin around your finger.
Right.
Like that.
Yeah.
That's what I love doing with it. That's fun. Then you've got the keychain one, which is 2 keychain split pins, and on it are.
Oh no, closer to you. Yeah, that's it. And now fiddle with it. Yeah, that's it. Perfect. And give it a little.
Yeah, so 2 keychain split pins, and they are held together with bike chain things, like little. and that's fun. They just go around and round, and if you've got it in one hand, you can spin it in your pocket, and no one even knows you've got it.
Well, I think even if anyone saw them, they'd look like really fun things to play with. So I
Yeah,
don't
yep,
think
that's exactly right.
social excluder at all. I know Mike of something like that.
Yep.
Yeah. So we're just a bit out of time, but I just want to quickly run through a couple of your other things. You have knobbly wobbly cushions, which are great big plastic cushions with knobbles on them to sit on. Yeah, there it is. Actually, I'll stop talking so the picture goes to you. Say something,
So,
actually. Let me picture.
yeah.
Tell me a little bit
So
of
that,
thing. That's it there.
yep, that's there. That is just, we blow it up. It goes on a table or on the floor, and the kids can, if they don't sit still, they can sort of wobble on it a bit at the table, and that gets their ants out, I suppose. I always say, have you got ants in your pants? So that's been really popular, and it can just be wiped down.
Okay. Oh, yep.
So you don't have to worry, like it can be washed or wiped, so you don't have to worry about germs or anything like that, which is a big thing in schools at present.
Would you put a pillowcase on?
No, no, the kids love that feel. So that's what it goes on the table, and they can wriggle in place instead of having to keep getting up and doing their wriggling. So they don't disturb the kids around them that way. And it's also a really good thing if a child won't sit still on the floor, using something like this is their spot on the floor. That can be their spot. So they go, right, the pink spot on the floor, that's your spot. So they'll go and sit on that, and they won't put their legs elsewhere. They won't put their hands elsewhere. That's their spot to sit. So that works.
Just quickly, if you have any more toys, just quickly hold them up for us. We'll just run.
Okay.
We only have a couple of minutes left.
I've got a couple. I've got the resist. So you put your fingers in here, and this is called like a finger resist
trainer.
Finger grip resist trainer. And what it's for those kids with fine motor skills problems, it strengthens these fingers. So it just helps them with their throwing and all sorts of stuff. We've also got those
Sequin pillows. Oh, everybody loves them.
They do. Everyone loves them. And for some reason, kids with special needs, and I think it's the feel. It's just the feel. They just absolutely love them. I've got, 27, 25 and a 23-year-old that write me notes in them when I leave them out. So, so yes, it's everyone that loves them. So that they've been popular. And what's the other? I've got different spinners.
Ooh, that looks cool.
Yeah, that one's a really good one. And it can.
Looks like a spaceship.
They do. They're great. And this is one of my favourites.
What's that?
That is a ball, and it's got, I don't know if you can see really well, but there's balls in there, and then there's colours. So all the colours have to match the balls. So you have to move them around and get all the balls in the right colours. And there's one that's free. So, you have to put that out there to get that one there. And so that's quite, my son loves that one, absolutely loves it. So I think that's all I've got in front of me at present.
Oh, well, I'll include a link to your catalogue in the show.
Oh, that'd be great.
Anybody who wants to have a look, because you have a lot more products.
I do, yeah.
I'll just tell everybody a couple of the others that I found that were really cute.
Oh, lovely.
There was the washing day one, which is this teeny tiny laundry line with clothes. I thought was so cute. There was a rice hunt, a threading tree, lots and lots and lots of squishies.
Yes.
So there's so much that's people can look through if they're interested. and maybe find something that's good for your classroom to help everybody. So thank you, Michelle. We'll have to wrap it up for today. It's been really, really lovely having you, and thank you for giving us an insight into the sensory needs of
Thank you.
people and products that can help in the classroom. So if listeners would like to get in touch with you and find out more, can you let us know where they can get in touch?
I can. So I'm Sensory Treasures and I'm on Facebook. I'm on Instagram at Sensory TREAS. Then I'm Twitter at Sensory TREAS. My phone number is 0422654747 and my email is sensorytreasures@outlook.com. So if you've got any questions, is there something that you've seen that maybe I can make for you? Because we're quite open to doing that too. Yeah, give us a ring or give us a message. That would be great.
Well, thank you very much, Michelle, and it's been a real pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.